Two different worlds, two different heroes. Jester, Rogue, and Titus, both the same age, both thrown into the battle they never asked for. Look closer, and you will see parallels. The father-shaped shadows, the reluctant destinies, and the burden of saving the world they barely understand. Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy X might not look alike at first glance, but once you see the similarities, it's hard to unsee them. This is more than a coincidence, it's a connection. Let's break it down. Starting off with the father figures with hidden motives. Both Jester and Titus have fathers who are central to the story, but their full importance is hidden early on. In Rogue Galaxy, Michelle is revealed to have a critical role behind the scenes. Michelle's disappearance early on in Jester's life wasn't abandonment. It was a duty. Michelle stepped away from his son to fulfill a larger, world-saving role. In Final Fantasy, Jack, on his pilgrimage with Braska and Auron, ends up becoming a sin himself, the very thing that Titus must destroy. Throughout his transformations into sin, Jack subtly urges Titus to end the cycle of death and suffering. He shows Titus the destruction that the sin can output. In both stories, the fathers, whether through actions or legacy, push their sons to become the ones who save the world. Both stories are shaped by
the war. There's no escaping it.
In Rogue Galaxy, it's an ongoing war, although they don't put a heavy focus on this. In Final Fantasy X, we learn the war between Bevel and Xanarkand. These conflicts shape present journeys of both stories. They aren't just fighting for the day, they are cleaning up the consequences in the past. Mentor archetypes, Zegram and Auron. I find these two characters to be very similar. Both are ultimately committed to the mission. Both have powerful pasts and act from the sidelines with a deeper understanding than the rest of the party. Both characters act as stoic mentors, standing at the edge of the group, silently watching, stepping in only when needed. There's even near identical moments of emotional impact. After ship crash in Jerica, Zegram coldly tells Jester,
"Come on. That's no way for a bunch of space pirates to act. That oil is made from the fruit of a particular tree that has highly flammable sap. Apparently, that fruit grows on a certain jungle planet. I think you get my drift."
Of course, that's right.
Then it's Auron's time.
Any good ideas?
Come on, help us.
What do we know? Sin is Jet. Thus you have a link, a bond with Sin. That may be our key.
As a honorable mention, although heavily opinion-based, I think these two games have an incredible soundtrack. Auron also shares similarities with the Rogue Galaxy's Raoul, who has the duty to raise his friend's son, which in Rogue Galaxy is Jester. In a way, they both pass the torch, not by force, but by trust. Both men clearly care deeply about the heroes they're protecting. In Final Fantasy X, Jack gives his one last favor to Auron in Xanarkand Ruins. Auron takes care of Titus in Dream Xanarkand and eventually brings him to Spira. Gone too soon, the missing mothers. Early on Rogue Galaxy stories, Jester's mother is absent from the present story. Later on, they do give her some screen time and importance to the story.
If you're my mother, there are so many things I want to ask you.
In Final Fantasy, Titus's mother is a soft, faded memory. After Jack disappeared, she withered away, emotionally lost without him. For Titus, that created a double abandonment. One physical, one emotional. These facts quietly shape who Jester and Titus are and how they navigate their journeys. Next up, the airship similarities. Whether you're traveling the galaxy or Spira's world, these airships become a symbol of freedom. And in both games, the airship is not just for travel, it's a flying fortress for both parties. Both Final Fantasy X and Rogue Galaxy center their emotional core around growing romance. A bond that evolves from trust and friendship into something deeper as the stakes rise. Both Yuna and Kisala aren't just love interests, they are pillars. They carry the emotional weight of the story while growing stronger themselves. Two worlds, but in both, love is the light that cuts through the darkness. Recurring antagonist, Seymour and Seed. In Rogue Galaxy, Seed is an artificial human. Seymour, on the other hand, is a high-ranking maester of Yevon. Seed was created by analyzing the genetic code that was engraved upon the great tablets. He's more than just a threat. He's symbolic of the corruption that's infecting the galaxy. Seymour, on the other hand, slowly reveals his twisted philosophy. Both of these antagonists are fought multiple times during the story.
Giving up already. Too bad. I had hoped for
Each rematch isn't just harder, it's more personal. And in Final Fantasy's case, all the way up to 4 incredibly hard boss fights. Even in death, Seymour keeps coming back.
Run! Protect Yuna!
As another honorable mention, I want to point out that both Final Fantasy X and Rogue Galaxy take immersion to another level by introducing fictional languages that add depth and mystery to their worlds. In Final Fantasy, the player can decipher the alphabet language throughout the game by obtaining alphabet primers. This is great because at first, the alphabet language seems completely unreadable. Eventually, Seed ends up being defeated not just physically, but philosophically. Seymour similarly falls into the ground, fading into the far plane after refusing to let go of his warped ideas. They died not with explosions, but with the quiet fall, and a visual reminder that they were never as immortal as they believed. Diving a little deeper into storyline progression, both games opened their early adventures in lush, spiritual jungle locations, Kiloka and Joraika. And yes, this clip is from Final Fantasy. They flow together so seamlessly, it's frightening. Both areas introduce a nature's importance early in the game, giving the player a taste of the deeper themes to come. And for both games, the next destination almost flows together as good as this, since it's the planet Zerard. And for Final Fantasy, it's Lookup. Jester and his friends came into Zerard to renew their galactic visa, although they got into trouble. So the next thing is jail time, locked up in both worlds. It's not a proper JRPG if your heroes don't end up being behind the bars at some point.
We had nothing to do with that explosion.
And in both Final Fantasy X and Rogue Galaxy feature pivotal moments where main characters are thrown into prison, signaling major shifts into their stories. Both jail sequences serve the same purpose to test their heroes' resolve, strip away the comfort, and show that the system of power aren't always just. And I love Simon's voice acting here.
You know what they call him? The Guardian of Hell.
In Final Fantasy, the party is locked up after escaping Bevel's wedding and stealing Yuna back into the party. It's a low point for the heroes, full of doubt, isolation and danger, but also a turning point where they choose to rebel fully against the old world.
Get me out of here! I want out now!
You can't save the world without first breaking free from the cage it puts you in. That is the message that the game gives you in both of these locked up situations.
The coast is clear.
In both Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy X, players are guided through the vast, complex lore of their worlds, not just through cutscenes, but through voices of wandering historians, characters who show up throughout the journey to share pieces of the past. This is where the storytellers, Birder and the Magians, fill the role. Understanding the past is the key to saving the future. Both men are not warriors or leaders, they are observers, yet they are crucial to the emotional depth and the richness of each world. These characters remind you that there's always more to the story than just the main plot. Sand, Silence, and Struggle. Both games include a moments in desert that truly test our parties. Whether it's Final Fantasy's regroup in Picanal or Jaster and his crew, they stuck their noses where they shouldn't have, and they couldn't talk their way out of it. The battle against Seed was unavoidable. In both games, the desert becomes a place where heroes are tested, scattered, and changed. Corruption and the creation of monsters. At the heart of both Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy X lies a dark cycle of corruption, where powerful institutions twist life and death for their own gain. And in doing so, they literally create monsters. This is where it begins, deep beneath the Zerard, with Rosencaster and Volkok turning prisoners into monsters using Volt energy, with Rune energy sprinkled on top. It's not science, it's exploitation. Quoting Admiral Panage, They are toying with human lives. Valkag's obsession isn't just political, it's economic. He's buying up ancient tablets, seeking more rune power to amplify this corruption, and using war as an excuse to build more monsters.
Power behind it!
Justice? What justice? All you're really interested in is profiting from this war. How much do you need to profit before you're satisfied?
That's enough! You're not the one deciding.
During the escape from the prison, Jester and his crew ran into the experiments on prisoners, turning them into monstrous weapons of war.
There are people in there.
Your early discovery of these capsules in Zerard prison reveals just how deep this goes. Human lives turned into fuel for profit. Even though it's called out directly, the voices are not heard, showing you just how rigged the system is.
There have always been rumors, but I had no idea the experiments had actually gone this far. We can't let them get away with this.
Meanwhile, in Final Fantasy X, the corruption is buried under the ropes and ritual. The teaching of Yevon strictly forbid the use of Machina, yet there, deep within the temples, they rely on it.
They betray their own teachings.
Quietly and conveniently. Seymour, a rising star in the Yevon hierarchy, gains power not by virtue, but throughout murdering. Instead of being punished, he's promoted, with the full knowledge of the church's highest leaders like Maester Micah, who openly admits that Spira is built on cycle of death, lies, and silence.
Grand Maester Micah is a wise leader. Even in death, he is invaluable to Spira.
The fiends in Final Fantasy X are born from the souls of the dead who were not properly sent to the far plane. Without a summoner like Yuna performing the sending, these spirits are twisted by grief and hatred. Both Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy X raised the stakes in their final act by warping the party into surreal otherworldly space, a point of no return where the final confrontation awaits. The crew ports the Dorkanar, traveling through the massive portal towards the Eden. This flips the whole tone of the game in its final moments. Final Fantasy X takes a similar turn, but it delivers the moment with more emotional depth and spiritual weight. As they get closer to Sin, the music grows quiet, the skies darken, and every character takes a moment to reflect. It's not just the final battle, it's farewell to the world they knew. Both games take you to the edge of reality, but Final Fantasy X makes sure you feel what's at stake before you cross. The final showdown, lava, heat, and the world on fire. Both games bring their stories to a climax in scorching, otherworldly battlefields, where the ground itself feels like it could melt beneath your feet. In both games, fire isn't just visual, it's symbolic. It's the world burning away falsehood, pain, and history, to finally start over. You feel the heat, the weight, and the silence before the storm. Because this isn't just the final battle, it's Judgment Day. Born from Jekt, forged in fire, the final Aeon stands as Spira's greatest hope and its greatest curse. The false hope that Yuna vowed to break. Another solid comparison point between these two games is a leveling system. Rogue Galaxy has this revelation flow where you pretty much place items into a grid to gain more power. Very similarly, in Final Fantasy X, we use Spear Grid. This is where these two games share similarities, where you unlock power by placing the right pieces and making the right choices. And both games reward exploration and planning, encouraging you to pay attention what you collect and how you use it. Crafting power, customization systems compare. Both Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy X go beyond traditional leveling. They give you tools to customize your gear. In Rogue Galaxy, you got Toadie, a goofy little frog with powerful purpose, who can synthesize two weapons into one. In Final Fantasy X, once Riku joins your party, the real fun begins. Her presence unlocks the customized feature, letting you add powerful abilities to weapons and armor using items you collected throughout the journey. Want a fire strike on the sword or auto finish on your armor? If you got the materials, it's yours. These two games may look different on the surface, but deep down, they speak the same emotional language. And more than that, they tell you the same story. As the closing clips roll, there's one last similarity I want to point out, and maybe the most emotional one of them all. Both games end not just with battles, but with farewells, with quiet songs. With a feeling that something beautiful just ended and it can't come back. Rogue Galaxy plays Dreaming My Way Home, a soft, reflective theme that echoes Jester's journey and the idea of finding where you truly belong. Final Fantasy X gives us the Tsuteki Dane, a romantic, bittersweet melody that ties directly to Yuna and Tidus, and that final moment on the ship deck. Oh, almost forgot to mention this, but I think we all got this. Kisala in Rogue Galaxy is basically Yuna's counterpart in Final Fantasy X. Both are the heart of their worlds, carrying the hope and responsibility with quiet strength. And that was the similarities between Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy X, two unforgettable journeys that, despite their differences, share a deep and powerful connection.
Historical records indicate it may have been the very last heist they ever pulled off as pirates.